everybody, thanks for tuning into today's video. We're going to have a look at the 8 to 10 day period today and see what's going to, or what may be going to happen as we go through in towards the second week of August, towards the middle of August actually now, in 8 to 10 days time. Before I get on with the video mode, just want to talk about the advertising. There'll usually be a video ad overlay my web videos at gamesweathervids.com. Please play those video ads because you'll be supporting gamesweathervids.com if you do that. So this is the 500 millibar height anomaly chart that we always start with for these 8 to 10 day forecast videos, and we can see that we've got the ECMWF here to the left, the GFS on the right. Have a look at the GFS in the mode 8 to 10 days time. Height anomaly charts these are, and height anomalies really are telling us where the pressure is at 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. We've got the red and orange colours here indicating above average heights, that's indicating where high pressure is, and we've got the blue colours indicating below average heights in 8 to 10 days time. That's indicating cooler than average temperatures at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. And that's where the low pressure is, and it's as these high pressure and low pressure areas are moved around and interact by the jet stream that really we get our weather. So in 8 to 10 days time, the height anomaly for the northern hemisphere actually is showing that we've got above average heights here, a big area of above average heights to the north and to the northeast of the country, so above average heights through much of Scandinavia and stretching to the north out towards Greenland. So this is quite a big blocking feature, northern blocking feature developing here on the ECMWF height anomaly for 8 to 10 days time. This big area of below average heights indicating a trough in the Atlantic. So this is quite an unsettled pattern really. We've got high pressure blocking to the north and we've got a trough in the Atlantic. This is quite an unsettled pattern, although winds with this are still coming from the south or southwest, so it's not cold, it's quite a warm pattern, but it's quite unsettled. That's quite a deep trough, and the high pressure is blocking quite extensively actually to the north and to the northeast of the country. The GFS height anomaly chart is quite a bit better. We've got the blocking feature here, but it's much more centred to the east of the country, so it's centred through Scandinavia and then stretching down through many of these central parts of Europe. We've got above average heights here, weak above average heights, but above average heights nevertheless here through central parts of Europe. So this is quite an extensive area of high pressure really to the east of the country, and this trough in the Atlantic is much weaker than on the ECMWF. There's the trough on the ECMWF again, very deep trough there really. This is a much weaker trough in the Atlantic, and it's further north as well. So what this is really telling us is that we've actually got quite a southerly flow setting up with this. We've got high pressure really to the east of the country, extensively to the east of the country. We've got a weak trough in the Atlantic, and we've got a bit of pressure coming in from the Atlantic as well, high pressure coming in from the Azores area. So this is a much more settled pattern than the ECMWF, and it's a lot warmer pattern as well. So if we have a look at the GFS ensembles, just to back that up, we can see that we are above average, we're a little bit below average now, but once we get through to tomorrow, beyond that, we go above average, and we're going to stay above average if the GFS is forecasting for quite some time. A little bit of a dip takes place there once we get through to around the 13th, 14th of August, then we go above average again. And really these lines are all above the red line. The red line is where the average temperature is at this time of year, upper air temperature. All of the lines going above that red line, so this is going for quite a warm couple of weeks coming up. And for the precipitation spikes, we've got precipitation spikes coming up for the next couple of days, so it is going to be unsettled still for today and tomorrow. But then we get a drier spell before perhaps precipitation spikes come back a little bit once we get through towards the middle of the month. But that's quite a dry chart really for the foreseeable future. So warm and drier than average, if that's right. That's for London. Manchester is very similar actually, going above average in Manchester, although there's more precipitation spikes as there usually is as you go further north and west. You do tend to get more in way of precipitation, so perhaps never truly settles down in the northwest of the country, but nevertheless we are going above average with those temperatures over the next week or two. So temperature anomalies for the next week, Tuesday the 7th, Tuesday the 14th, we're in the pink colours. Haven't seen this very much at all this summer. We are going into those pink colours, but pink is where above average is. We're not going desperately warm, not going desperately hot just yet. The red colours are very much limited down towards southern parts and central parts of Spain. We're just going a little bit above average, but that's quite a change on what we've had through the course of summer. And notice how in the east of Europe, where it's been well above average for many, many weeks, it's going below average. And this is one of the things you do tend to find, one of the balancing acts of nature, that as the west of Europe warms, the east of Europe tends to cool. So where it's been so hot for so long, it's starting to cool down. Where it's been very cool throughout most of the summer, it's starting to warm up. That's one of the balancing acts that you do tend to find across the continent. So for precipitation anomalies for the next week, again, the west of Europe is going to be below average with precipitation, including the British Isles. Most of the British Isles having a drier than average week coming up. Although in the west and the northwest, as we saw on the ensemble, we do keep more in way of precipitation there. But really, the whole of Western Europe is looking like it's drying out quite a bit. Whilst the east, as it turns cooler, it also starts to turn a little bit wetter as well. So having a look at the charts from West Central to see how it's all working out over the next 8 to 10 days. And this is the situation from the GFS model on Monday. This is the trough that may well be bringing us some thunderstorms across the country on Sunday, although that's quite uncertain. That trough is still there on Monday, gradually clearing away to the east. There's the main blocking feature up over Scandinavia, the blocking high pressure. This is probably more of an El Nino type pattern as well, by the way. The El Nino might just be starting to kick in now, starting to force the pressure patterns a little bit in the northern hemisphere. But anyway, this is the situation once we get through to 8 days time, and we've got that blocking feature still there up over Scandinavia. We've got a bit of a ridge here over France as well, so we've got high pressure to the south, high pressure to the east, and there's the low pressure that we saw on the height anomaly chart up towards the northwest of the country. So that's quite a weak area of low pressure, still enough to bring showers into the west, but really this high pressure to the east and to the south is the dominating factor. And then going further ahead, where we have this low pressure moving in once we get through to the middle of next week, or try to move in, but it never really makes it, and it remains stuck up over Iceland to the northwest. And this high pressure to the east of the country, that is dominating the sea really, and to the south as well, keeping it quite warm. Still showers up in the northwest in particular, but really this high pressure is keeping it warm and fairly dry throughout next week. Now the ECMWF is different. It's not as dry or as warm over the next 8 to 10 days time. So this is the chart for Monday. We're clearing that thundery trough away to the east. There's the high pressure to the northeast, and running through these charts, notice that the low pressure becomes much more dominant here off the Atlantic. It's a lot further south, and the reason it's further south is that high pressure is further north. It's not sitting over Scandinavia and through this central part of Europe. It's actually setting up quite a northern blocking feature, stretching from northern Scandinavia over towards Greenland, and this is allowing the low pressure to move in off the Atlantic. So we've got a northern block and quite extensive low pressure coming in off the Atlantic here. So this is quite an unsettled and much cooler pattern as well, and this may be where it's all going to end up once we get through towards the middle and latter stages of August. I wouldn't be surprised if we do end up with something similar to this. This might be happening a bit sooner than it will do, but once we get through towards the end of August, this could be where we end up with quite a big blocking feature to the north and low pressure coming back in off the Atlantic. But we'll have to keep an eye on this. We've got the GFS and the ECM really disagreeing this morning. So we can't really be too conclusive about where this is going in 8 to 10 days time. Finally, the GEM, the Canadian, we've got the low pressure gain to the west of the country in a week's time, but the high pressure is dominating to the northeast of the country and going through towards 10 days time, Friday the 17th. We've got the high pressure here still to the north, a major area of high pressure there, and the ridge coming in from the south, keeping this low pressure forced out in towards the Atlantic to the northwest of the country. So this is closer really to the GFS as it is to the ECM. Actually, this high pressure is not forming a block yet from Scandinavia towards Greenland. So we've got the models disagreeing a bit where we're going in 8 to 10 days time. I would tend to favour the GFS solution really. I think they are going to have quite a warm, dry, settled week next week, but eventually I think we will get to where the ECMWF model is for next week. So eventually I think we will go towards a northern blocking feature again and low pressure coming back into the backing off the Atlantic, but that may not be until say the last week or so of August. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see where it all goes as we get through to next week. But tomorrow I'm doing the 5-day forecast, so come back for that. The detailed 5-day forecast looking at the warmer weather that's coming up from Wednesday onwards into the weekend. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.